What's up, softball players? Coach Dan Blewett here. Today I'm going to talk about softball throwing mechanics, and we're going to talk about the front side and how that can help you throw a softball harder, farther, with better accuracy, all that stuff. So, if you're new to my channel, I do a lot of stuff on throwing mechanics. I do lots of stuff on strength training, mental training. But today we're going to talk really about this one specific thing, which is what the front arm does in the throwing motion. Okay, so, and I want to make you all one promise real quick. So, I'm going to use baseball footage. I've got some pro baseball guys. I'm going to use them today as the examples, but I promise you I'm getting softball footage coming up soon because I know how valuable it is for you to see women doing what you want to do in your career, right? So I'm going to get a lot of D1 softball players. I'm going to get footage of them. I'm going to have them on the channel. So stay tuned to that. Stick with me today. Obviously, baseball players are great examples, and a lot of the information I'm giving you is coming from the baseball world where there's a lot of money, there's a lot of really good training, and that's often perpetuated by all the money that's involved in baseball. There's also slow motion cameras in the MLB, all this stuff that's really forced us as a baseball industry to grow and change because when you see stuff on high speed video, there's nowhere to hide when saying like, oh, I teach it this way. Well, it's like, well, the slow motion says you should teach it this way, right? It exposed a lot of old coaching flaws that probably things that shouldn't be taught anymore. So today we're going to go over the glove side and we're going to talk about it real quick, but I've got some really good examples. But like I said, stick with me because we're going to use softball footage in the future. So here we go. This guy here is a middle infielder. He's a pro player. And the first thing I want you to note is that number one, the glove's at his center. So this is really important because having it here at your center when you're about to make your throw, it just sets you up as like a good foundation for good throwing mechanics. So when you're trying to improve your softball throwing motion, these little details matter. But what we're going to talk about the most is right here. So I want you to watch right here. His glove arm is pointing out. Okay, no big deal. But his glove arm starts to fall down by his side. And it's really the first thing that happens. So when you watch his delivery, you'll see his glove arm goes first. Let me play that again. So the glove arm's coming around. If you watch the throwing arm, the glove arm is moving and rotating the body before the arm comes through. And you'll see here, it gets all the way to the side of the body. I'll let this play one more time. So the glove arm kind of swims around and then it goes across and then it falls down vertical. And that's starting the throwing motion. We'll look at release here. He's got a long arm, like is above the ball, looks good. And a lot of that starts with the glove arm. So the glove arm is going to get around and it's going to fall down to the side. But the really big key here that I want you to take away is that the glove arm is going to start this big crank, sort of. That is your upper body. Your upper body is rotating you, and that's what's throwing your arm back, and that's what's increasing your throwing velocity. So when we're talking about softball throwing mechanics, they're not different than baseball throwing mechanics. They're just really not. The ball's different. Some of the demands of the game are different, but in general, it's the same motion. And a big problem with softball players is that they start their motion too often with their throwing arm, and it jumps ahead and they have a low elbow. So the way we're going to improve softball throwing mechanics is by getting our glove arm up to then go down first. But it doesn't always have to point up. So let's look at another example here. Okay, so here's another example. This guy just fielded one in the hole. He's pulling his arm back. And he's in a slightly different position, but you're still going to see a similar thing. And on this one, you're going to see the glove stay on the chest. Now, this is a unique example because it depends where your body's going. Typically when infielders are moving across the field, so I'm playing short and I'm moving towards first and I'm throwing at my target. If I'm following my target, my glove is going to stay at my chest more. If I'm moving to my left side, my glove is going to fall all the way to the other side of my body a little bit more. So let's let this play through. But you can still see, even though his glove arm is at his chest, if you look at his glove elbow, it's still the first thing that makes his body move. He's still using this to start to rotate his core and clear the way for the rest of the throw. Okay, we're going to look at one more example here. So this guy, he's just warming up, going through his motions in between innings, just like a generous casual crow hop, but watch his glove here. So with this guy, his glove is falling a lot more down at a downward angle, right? But even though it's falling down at that angle, he's still starting his front side with it. So if you watch, it circles around, right? And it's the first thing that goes as his body comes all the way through. So again, the glove arm serves to get the rotation of the upper body started. That's the big important thing with the glove arm. I'm gonna start this one more time so you can watch while I'm talking. So the glove arm is gonna circle around, fall on the other side, and then the rest of the hips and the core are gonna come through. So with lots of softball players, they have their glove arm up, and then their glove arm doesn't do much for them. Basically, they try to push their backside through against their glove arm rather than letting their glove arm get to the other side of their body and then sort of catapult everything else back through. And you can see that. You can see the way when the glove arm starts to get to the left side of this shortstop's body, it starts to stretch everything and sling everything back through. And that's really, really key. So what this ends up doing, whether the glove is here, whether the glove is here, or whether the glove falls, it's still going to do the same thing in the sense that the glove arm is going to be the first mover, essentially, getting the core to turn and the hips to turn, which then transfers all that power into the arm, makes it lay back, and then it comes back through. So this is something that's really key. So if you're a coach or you're a parent or you're a player and you're really into analyzing your own throwing mechanics and you want to get better, get some slow motion video of you and watch your glove arm. Does your glove arm go first in comparison to your throwing arm? Your glove arm needs to be making that rotational movement, pulling your core through before anything else happens. And if it's not, then we have an issue and we got to figure out why that's going on and what we can do with that and how we can fix it. All right. So thanks for tuning into this video today. I hope it was helpful. I do a lot of stuff on the softball throwing mechanics, and again, stick around because I'm going to have some softball players. I'm going to go through their mechanics on this channel. But if you're new, subscribe. There's a button below. Share this with a friend, and don't forget to check out my softball throwing courses. You can find links in the video description below here on YouTube. All right, thanks again. We'll see you in the next video.